Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into something, well, pretty significant in naval power terms.
Yeah, it's really caught a lot of attention.
We're talking about China's aircraft carrier, the Fujian, and specifically the first successful electromagnetic launch of a J-35 stealth fighter from its deck.
Exactly. It's a big milestone. We've been looking at, credible reports, satellite images, a lot of open source stuff to really get a handle on what this means.
Right, and that's what we want to do for you today, dig into why this launch matters so much. We'll look at the J-35 itself, this EMALS launch system on the Fujian.
And ultimately what it signals about, the changing tides of naval power globally.
Okay, so let's start with the J-35. When we talk about this plane, what's the core thing to grasp?
Well, fundamentally, the J-35 is China's first go at a carrier-based fifth-generation fighter. Think of it maybe like their equivalent to the U.S. F-35B, at least in terms of ambition.
Fifth gen, carrier-borne, got it.
And launching it successfully using this electromagnetic system, EMALS, on the Fujian. That's the really crucial part. It's a first.
It definitely sounds like more than just, a routine test. I've heard whispers that maybe this program is further along than people thought.
Yeah, there's definitely a growing feeling among analysts, based on the evidence, that the J-35 might have actually entered what's called low-rate initial production, or LRIP.
LRIP. Okay.
Which is a big step. It signals they're moving past just like proving the tech works and starting to actually build aircraft.
So building a fleet, not just testing a concept.
Potentially, yes. And we're seeing a lot of activity on the Fujian during its sea trials, too. Multiple planes, even mock-ups on deck. It suggests they're really pushing the integration aspect.
It seems like they're really committed then. All right, let's focus on the J-35 itself for a minute. What makes this fighter stand out?
It's designed from the ground up as a stealthy, supersonic fighter for carrier ops. The typical fifth-gen stuff. Internal weapons bays are key for that low radar signature.
Keeps things sleek.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, really advanced avionics, giving the pilot situational awareness and, obviously, radar-absorbent materials baked into the design to make it hard to spot.
So stealth is paramount. When did we first get a look at this thing?
The prototype first surfaced back in 2021. Since then, it's been through a lot of testing, mostly land-based stuff simulating carrier decks.
Okay, practice runs.
Yeah. So this actual launch from the Fujian is, well, it's the payoff. It really shows China's aiming to project air power way beyond their coastline and doing it with a top-tier fighter.
Okay, stealth fighter, check. But the way it launched this email system on the Fujian, that feels like just as big a story, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge technological leap. EMALS electromagnetic aircraft launch system uses basically powerful magnetic fields. Think linear induction motors.
Like those high-speed maglev trains?
Kind of like that, yeah. It propels a shuttle, carrying the aircraft down the track, accelerating it incredibly fast. Now, compare that to the old steam catapults.
Which have been the standard forever.
Right. EMALS gives you much finer control over the launch. That means less stress on the plane's airframe. Big advantage.
Less wear and tear. Makes sense.
Plus, it can cycle faster. You can launch planes more frequently, which boosts the carrier's sortie rate. How many planes it can get in the air, how quickly.
Faster launches, less stress. Sounds crucial in any conflict scenario. And the Fujian is the first Chinese carrier with this tech.
That's correct. It's their first EMALS-equipped carrier, a major step up from their previous two. It's not just an incremental improvement.
A real jump.
And what's interesting is that EMALS isn't just good for current fighters. It potentially allows them to launch heavier aircraft, maybe drones, unmanned combat vehicles, alongside the fighters in the future. More flexibility.
So this first J-35 launch using EMALS, what did that actually involve? What did people see?
Well, reports suggest the J-35 was hooked up to the EMALS shuttle. Lots of checks, presumably. Then whoosh, rapid acceleration, takeoff speed in seconds, and a smooth climb out.
Smooth is good.
Very good. Observers noted it looked stable, no apparent strain on the aircraft. It's a critical validation, really. It proves the J-35 can handle the EMALS forces and that the Fujian system works at sea.
So, proof of concept achieved. Now, you mentioned low-rate initial production, LRIP, earlier. Why is that specific term important for us to understand?
LRIP is basically the signal that something's moving from being like experimental towards being an actual usable capability.
Beyond the lab.
Exactly. The fact that analysts think the J-35 might be an LRIP, especially after the successful launch and the land tests, it suggests China's pretty confident in design. They're serious about fielding it.
Okay. And these first few production planes, what do they actually do? Do they go straight into service?
No, not immediately. These early jets have a few jobs. First, pilot training. getting Navy pilots familiar with a whole new complex aircraft
Makes sense. Need to learn how to fly it.
and maintain it. So ground crews use them to figure out the best maintenance procedures. And crucially, they use these planes to develop the tactics. How will carrier groups actually use the J-35 in different situations?
Building the playbook.
Precisely.
Yeah.
LRIP usually runs for maybe 1 or 2 years before full-scale manufacturing kicks in. Depends on test results, budget, all that stuff.
Got it. So back to the Fujian itself. It's been busy with sea trials. What are we seeing on its flight deck in those satellite images?
Yeah, the recent imagery is pretty telling. The deck looks unusually crowded, very active. You see the J-35 test plane, obviously, but also mock-ups of what look like UCAV's unmanned combat aerial vehicles.
Interesting. So drones are part of the plan.
Seems likely. Plus, you see the older J-15 fighters, maybe even some J-31s mixed in. But what's really key is the deck crew activity.
What are they doing?
They seem to be practicing everything, moving planes around, parking them efficiently, running launch and recovery drills, likely simulating different weather conditions. It's intense.
Like a complex dance routine almost. Why is that deck level practice so vital?
It's the heart of carrier ops. They have to test everything. The aircraft elevators moving planes between the hangar and the deck, how they secure aircraft, and critically, how the whole crew coordinates.
Needs to be seamless.
Absolutely. So that when the J-35 is fully operational and the air wing is built out, everything works together safely and efficiently to, launch and recover aircraft effectively.
Okay, we know it's stealthy, supersonic, EMALS launched. Let's dig a bit deeper into the J-35's capabilities. Any specific design features that stand out?
Well, looking closely, it has what's called a serpentine air intake. It's basically a curved duct leading to the engine.
Why curve it?
It hides the engine fan blades from radar, looking head-on. Big boost for stealth. Then there's the internal weapons bay we mentioned, carries missiles and bombs inside to keep that low radar profile.
Stealth again.
And a powerful engine. Interestingly, while it's launched by EMALS on Fujian, the design seems to retain features for a stow-bar short takeoff. But arrested recovery, like on China's other carriers, suggests some design flexibility maybe?
Interesting. Built-in options. What about the tech inside, the avionics, sensors?
It's expected to have a top-notch suite. An ACAE radar active electronically scanned array. These are very capable, track multiple targets, resist jamming.
State-of-the-art radar?
Right. Probably sophisticated sensor fusion too, combining data from radar, infrared sensors, electronic warfare systems into one clear picture for the pilot. And advanced data links to share info with other assets.
So networked warfare capable.
That's the goal. Long-range strike, air superiority, maybe even electronic attack, all while trying to stay hidden.
Okay, putting it all together. Cutting-edge fighter, cutting-edge carrier. What's the big picture strategic implication here?
Stepping back, the Fujian is carrier number 3 for China, but the first with EMALS.
Yeah.
Integrating the J-35 is the next logical and critical step in their plan for a true bluewater Navy. Meaning a Navy that can operate far from home, sustained, out in the deep ocean, beyond the so-called first island chain. Pairing EMALS with a stealth fighter. It's a clear signal. They want to challenge the established naval powers, particularly the U.S. and its allies, in the Asia-Pacific.
So it's about projecting power and presence further afield.
Definitely. And the success of this whole J-35 program is really tied to the credibility of their entire carrier strike group concept.
Developments like this don't happen in a vacuum, though. How are other countries, especially neighbors, likely reacting?
Oh, they're watching very closely. Japan, India, countries with their own carriers or carrier plans, they'll be scrutinizing this. It might push them to speed up upgrades to their own fighters' avionics or electronic warfare systems.
An arms race dynamic, potentially?
It could accelerate things, yeah. Japan flies F-35Bs from its helicopter carriers. They might adjust tactics. India's working on its own naval fighter, the Tejas naval variant. This could give that program more urgency, maybe more funding.
And the U.S. Navy, the current leader in carrier tech.
Planners in D.C. are definitely analyzing this. You might see more focus on countermeasures, better sensor networks to detect stealth aircraft, maybe pushing harder on unmanned systems as alternatives or complements to manned fighters.
Beyond the military implications, could China sell this tech, export the J-35?
That's a really good question. China often positions its military tech for export eventually. An operational J-35 could be very attractive to nations wanting carrier capability, but without access to Western jets.
Like who?
Pakistan is a very likely candidate, given their close ties. Maybe Southeast Asian nations exploring carrier ideas like Thailand or Indonesia. Could be interested down the line, perhaps for training initially.
And selling it helps China how?
Boosts their defense industry, obviously, but also expands their military diplomatic influence. It's soft power projection through hardware.
We've covered the plane, the carrier. But what about the support system? You can't just operate these things without a massive infrastructure, right?
Absolutely not. Getting a J-35 wing fully operational needs a huge support tail. You need dedicated training squadrons, probably with advanced shore-based simulators, maybe mock ski jumps, resting gear simulators.
Like guessing carrier landings on land?
Exactly. Then maintenance depots. These aren't simple jets. You need special facilities for spare parts, those radar-absorbing coatings, complex electronics, the engines.
The whole ecosystem.
And the supply chain to the carrier group itself. Mobile workshops, maybe? It requires incredibly tight coordination between logistics teams, the deck crews, the shore bases. It's a massive logistical puzzle.
Sounds incredibly complex. So realistically, when might we see actual operational J-35 squadrons out there?
Well, if this LRIP phase progresses smoothly, analysts are estimating maybe the first operational PLA Navy J-35 squadron could form up by, say, early 2027.
That soon?
Potentially. Initial deployments would likely be closer to home, South China Sea, nearby training areas, while they work out the kinks on the Fujian.
And full integration, complex exercises.
That might take longer. Maybe seeing them fully integrated into carrier strike group drills with other ships, live fire, perhaps around 2028 or so. And the longer-term plan is likely to equip their other carriers too, building towards that 3-carrier fleet.
Okay, so looking ahead, say over the next year or two, what should we be watching for? What are the key milestones?
We'll be looking for evidence of arrested landings, successful recoveries of the J-35 on the Fujian during these sea trials. That's a big one.
The other half of the equation, landing.
Right. Also, more news about land-based simulation training, more complex deck handling drills involving more planes, and maybe signs of formal low-visibility testing really pushing the stealth aspect.
Each successful step builds confidence.
Exactly. If they keep hitting these milestones, it reinforces the idea that China's carrier aviation is really shifting from experimental towards being a genuine operational force.
So let's bring it all together. What's the single most important takeaway from this whole deep dive into the J-35 and Fujian?
I think the key thing is that this successful EMALS launch, combined with the signs of early production, shows a clear, steady advance. China is serious about creating a credible, modern, 5th-generation carrier air wing.
It's not just ambition anymore, it's becoming reality.
Precisely. And watching how the Fujian and its air wing progress through these trials, that's going to give us critical clues about the timeline for a fully combat-ready Chinese carrier strike group. And that has major implications for the future naval balance, especially in the Indo-Pacific.
A really pivotal moment to watch. It definitely makes you think, doesn't it? How this blend of stealth and advanced launch tech on carriers could really change the game for naval strategy and, well, international relations in the years ahead. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.